Hi, my name is Kees, and today I'd like to talk about staying power. And this is very relevant if you're into self-improvement, if you're into spirituality, if you're into being a better human, having a better human experience, then this video is for you. Because what I'm about to talk about, it's a total game changer because it is different than what a lot of people say. It's more practical and it's also very, very potent. So staying power is to have focus on something and to stay with it, to stick with it. I'll first of all go into how do you know something is right for you? Because that is where you want to stay. That is what you want to invest in. That is what you want to invest in every day or almost every day. Some of these practices which are really important for you. Some of these cornerstones for your life. And these cornerstones or best practices for you as a person should be based on your intuition. It should be based on your feelings, your thoughts, your feelings about something. It should be based on your deeper inner world, your inner knowing of what is good for you. And we all have that. The question is, do we allow it? Do we allow ourselves to really trust on our intuition instead of trusting in mainstream society opinion? Instead of trusting in the opinion of our parents? Do we trust in our soul? Do we trust in the deeper part of ourselves? Do we trust in intuition? And if we do, we can see enormous results. But there's one thing here which is extremely crucial, and I've made this mistake myself as well in the past, is that when you get an intuition, when you get a deep sense of what is meant for you, you're meant to act on it. And you're meant to stay. These intuitions or insights, they tend not to be something for a week or a day. They tend to be the truth. They tend to be something which is so valuable for you that if you would invest in it day in and day out, that it will reap enormous fruits. So this staying power is where you have a sort of intuition. Let me give you an example. For example, the deep intuition or the deep knowing that it would be better for you to eat vegetarian food instead of food with meat and fish and fowl in it. That could be an insight. There's no judgment here which I want to put on eating meat, but it's just an example. And let's say you have that intuition. Let's say you deeply feel that. And the question is then, do you doubt that intuition? If it's something you don't doubt, then it's something to implement. You don't have to implement it today, but you do have to implement it. It needs to be worked on, you could say. It needs to be worked in. It needs to be implemented. And then you need to stay with it. These intuitions, they come up. And they come up over and over if you don't do something with that. They come up, let's say, every month if you don't do something with them. But at some point, you need to really sew them all together. Because they are sort of together, they give let's say, a good, solid image of what is meant for you. So connecting those dots really gives you a sort of patchwork of this is meant for me. This really feels like the best thing for me in my inner knowing. And sometimes we don't want to admit it because it's not mainstream, not mainstream activities or thoughts. Sometimes our mind might resist something, but if we deeply know from inside that this is meant for us, we're meant to implement it and we're meant to stay with it. So again, when we don't stay with it or don't implement it, it tends to come up over and over and over again. So we need that staying power. And we need that trust in our intuition. And we need the guts to implement. Whatever we feel in our hearts is our need and desire. For a very long time myself, I had all these intuitions about what would be good for me. But what I would do is I would just write them down, maybe have some wishful thinking like, oh, I should maybe or maybe not, I don't know. And then I would just leave them, or I would try it for 3 weeks. I would just have a sort of not so solid commitment to them. And I would get not so solid results. I would get maybe a little results when I implement them very shortly. But I would not get the real results which were meant for me. And I would not have, I was very happy. I am still very happy, but I was already very happy. But I was not having the life which was meant for me because I was not doing the things which my intuition told me to do in a sort of long term, because I didn't have the staying power. And I think part of that had to do with self-worth, with that my intuition was for me to do big things in this life. And I could only do those things if I would actually have the self-worth to act on them. The self-worth to act on my intuitions. And I really like this insight I had at a Bob Proctor seminar, where he said you can't outwork your self-image. So if you have a certain idea of yourself, and that is, for example, that, let's say the idea is that you're fat, how can you lose weight? Because you can't outwork that self-image. At some point, you'll start gaining weight again if you lose some, because you have the idea you're fat. So sort of the body and the mind is trying to reinforce this idea and reinforce that through action. So what you want to do is change your self-image of yourself, change your idea of yourself, change your limiting beliefs of yourself. And that will give you that staying power. But knowing that the staying power is relevant is especially what I wanted to tell you in this video, because staying power is exactly what you need to be able to patch all these loose ends in your life to one coherent whole picture of what is meant for you from your intuition, from your soul, from a deeper perspective of you, and to manifest that in your life, to realize it in your life. You need to be able to trust your intuition, take action on it, implement it, and stay with it. I hope that helps. Much love to you, my friend. Have an awesome afternoon, evening, morning, day, wherever you are. Much love.